Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over my feedback from Effortless Swimming. I sent my footage off to get it reviewed, and the coaches got back to me, and I'm excited to review this. I'm watching this for the first time with you guys, so let's follow along and see what I need to improve on, and we'll go from there.
Thanks for sitting through your video. So we have chatted a little bit on the membership, right, in terms of what you're focusing on. But just to summarize, you've just been focusing on keeping your lead arm extended as you breathe. You've just been focusing on kicking quite a bit. And then you have mentioned that the breathing and just finding a relaxed state, you are just struggling a little bit with that. So I'll touch on all of that. My recommendation for the month is going to be just actually focusing on slowing down the stroke and finding that relaxation. The reason why I say that is because if you can get that down, it's going to be so much easier for you to be able to conquer the breathing, conquer keeping the lead arm extended, etc. So there's different ways that we can go about doing that. What we can do is, for example, you can take a session, and each session you're going to focus on just one area as opposed to all of them that we'll touch on now. So for example, one area focus on the kick, one session focus on the breathing, one area focus on keeping the lead arm up. That's just a way that you can just compartmentalize the stroke, not overthink, and just try and find that flow state. And then Anthony, I'll also give you a couple drills that will just really help you find that relaxation state.
So I definitely want to talk about that. One of the things I mentioned when I was talking with the coaches was that I overthink a lot. I think about my mechanics and where things should be in the middle of the lane. And so I love that she's giving me this feedback to be able to just simplify things. Think about either just keeping my arm up or whatever, just so that I'm focused on one thing at a time rather than me thinking about the entire stroke. And yeah, it's something I needed because I do tend to overthink in the pool, and I need to not do that. So
in terms of the kick, keeping the lead arm up, and the breathing, now the kick is looking really nice, Anthony. So what's looking really nice with the kick is, for the most part, you're kicking within the bucket range. So we always want to kick, you can think of there being a big bucket behind us, and you're doing that. At the same time, you're not kicking excessively big and deep, which is also great. You are kicking for the most part from the hip, so I'm quite happy with that. Now with the kick, one thing I do just want you to do is, even though you're finding that it's helping you, I do think you are overpowering the kick a little bit. And so what happens there is, if you're kicking really hard and fast, it can really tire out the stroke. And the reason being is because the leg muscles are really big. And so if we're powering it the whole time, it's going to cause us to have to use a lot of energy just to be able to feel the power there. So with the legs for the month, I just want you to focus on slowing it down, kicking nice and small, and we just want to use the legs a little bit more for balance and stability as opposed to propulsion. So if I just show you an example here. So Anthony, if you just have a look at Andy over here and his kicks, you can just see that they're really just kind of flopping behind him as opposed to being super hard and fast. And again, they're more just there for that stability point as opposed to really driving the stroke. And that just makes the stroke more efficient. So with the kick, that's the only goal that I want from you. Just keep it a little bit lighter and looser. Okay. What we can have a look at next is just going to be keeping that lead arm extended as you breathe.
Before we go on, like for me to get my kick to this point, it's taken me, I've been swimming for 6 months. And for me, it's been taking me this entire time just to get my kicking into like the correct bucket. I'll put some other videos of me in the past swimming, and I'm making these big movements with my leg. And so one, it's nice to see that my kicking has improved. I am staying within that bucket, like she says, but I do feel like I am kicking a lot. And, it is a big muscle group, and that I do feel like that's why I'm getting tired. You're seeing this one angle of me swimming back and forth. It's just a 50. I wish I was doing 100. And this is what I'm going to have to take into the pool with me, is that to try to glide more and not kick as much, but also to balance that with, because I'm not kicking as much, in my mind, my legs are sinking. And so it'll be interesting to see. But I'm happy about where my kicking is now to make the kick more efficient and to kick less. And yeah.
Now, I agree. This is something that we should focus on for a couple of reasons, right? So when we breathe, what we always want is we want that lead arm extending, because if it can extend forward, it's going to allow you to have a supported breath, because it essentially provides like a platform for yourself to just be able to rotate against, get in that breath, and then be able to continue swimming. And at the same time, if that lead arm stays extended, it's going to allow you to get in a high elbow catch, where what's happening here is just because your lead arm is dropping. So the first thing now is the breath's not supported. And then secondly, what's happening is you are actually only starting the catch down there, where the goal is actually going to be able to start the catch when your hand is in line with the armpit. So what you can do to focus on this is, the one thing that I just want you to do is your lead arm, your lead hand, I really want you to just try and keep it super light as opposed to putting a lot of pressure on it. So you can see all these bubbles here. So what that's telling me is the minute that you're entering the water, all your momentum, you're kind of entering, and then all your momentum is just going straight down. That's the path that your hand is following. The goal is actually going to be to enter, and then from there, we actually want our path and our extension to go forward first, ride it forward, and then from there, we'll be able to start the catch where we want it. So really think about the pressure that you're putting on your hand. And for the month, if you only want to focus on your breathing arm, just do that. And then thereafter, we can look at your other arm. But really just think about, as you enter, get that extension forward, and then keep this hand nice and light. And what you can do instead is you can rather just use your lats and back to really be able to keep that arm up, as opposed to feeling like you need to press down on this hand to support the breath. Okay, so with that arm, just keep that lead hand nice and light. Now, a good drill that you can do for this in particular is going to be catch up free. As you do catch up free, just really focus on one arm touch, second arm touch, and then, as you breathe, keep that hand nice and light, and then continue with the next arm. If you need to start with fins initially, go ahead and do that. Rather do that, then take the fins off and see if you can hold that lead arm up without the fins. But again, if you can just keep that lead hand nice and light, it's going to be one of the ways that you can just help keep that arm up. Okay, so that's just going to be my recommendation there.
And actually, I want to talk about this because something I've noticed while I'm swimming is that I'm breathing on my right, because that's my preferred side to breathe. And so if I switch back to my left side, I am struggling. Like everything's like falling down. And my stroke is like all over the place. But yeah, I've noticed even when I'm swimming normally and I'm breathing to my preferred side, my left arm like just falls straight through the water. And so there's this balance that I'm trying to find of reaching and extending before my catch, but not overextending. I know that's an issue too. So I just I feel like everything that I think I'm doing, I need to do a little bit more of, because I feel like I'm extending, but as you can see in the video, I'm not extending as much. And then I'm starting my catch way down here versus like she says, in line with my armpit. And so that's because I'm coming down and I feel like I'm reaching out, but I'm obviously not reaching out as much. And I'm just falling through the water, not catching any water and not propelling myself in the water, and then starting my catch way down here. And so that's why it's important to video yourself. You're thinking you're doing one thing, but obviously the video is showing different. But yeah, this is awesome to see, and really great feedback, and this is what I needed for my swimming journey.
The best way that you can control your breathing is, and find like a relaxation state while you're swimming, is going to be breath control. Now, how you can get into a breath control is the key word there. If you can kind of count your breath and get in a rhythm of how you exhale, how you inhale, you'll just be able to sustain that throughout, and you'll be able to just control the stroke as a whole, and mentally you'll be able to find it's much easier to do. So what I mean by that is, you can see here that as you breathe, okay, so you're taking in a sip of air now. As your face comes in the water, you're exhaling straight away. So you can see you're exhaling, and then you're coming up to breathe. Now, what I want you to try and do instead is, instead of exhaling straight away, I want you to get into this pattern. I want you to breathe, put your face into the water. I want you to pause for 1 second, 1 or 2 seconds, you can play around, and then only start your exhale. Why we want to do that is because if you think of it, if you're walking down the road, that's pretty much how we would be inhaling and exhaling. We're not doing a as we're going. That can be quite exhausting. We want to regain control, and that pause just allows your exhale to just sustain you a little bit more, so you're not going to feel like you're going to need such a big sip of air. So that's just going to be my only tip that I want you to do with the breathing. Take a breath. As the face comes in the water, pause for a second or two, then start your exhale, and then roll into the breath, and then continue. There's a couple ways that you can implement this. I personally think kicking is the best way to do that. Why I'm going to recommend kicking is control again. If you're just holding a board, put some fins on, exhale for example, 8 kicks, take a breath for 2 seconds, put your face back in the water. I want you to focus on pausing for 1 to 2 seconds, and then only exhaling, and then continue that pattern. When you feel comfortable doing it in the kicks, progress to catch up free rather. Why? Control again is really going to allow you control. Breathe, face in, pause for 1 to 2 seconds, then do a slow exhale, and then continue that pattern. And then only when you feel comfortable, move into doing that with normal free. Okay, so that's just going to be my recommendation there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right? Like I'm using too much legs, and I'm not breathing as efficiently as possible. So obviously there's a reason why I can't do more than 100 yards at a time. And it's just two things working against each other. My big muscles, my leg, I'm using the largest muscles, my legs, to propel me through the water when it's supposed to be to keep me balanced, right? That's what it's for. And then also I'm not breathing as efficiently as possible. I think before filming this video, I was watching a podcast with the Effortless Swimming, and they had somebody on that was talking about, one of the members talking about how he went from not being able to do 50 yards to being able to do 500 yards in a span of a couple months. And I'm over here like, I'm 6 months in and I can barely do 100 yards. Something must be wrong. And it has to do with, from what I understand, is not breathing as efficiently, and then also not being able to deal with that uncomfortability of being in the water, being in 7 feet deep pool or 12 feet deep pool, and just being afraid of like drowning, I guess, for lack of a better word. But just yeah, I'm like Coach says, like I'm as soon as my face hits the water, I'm breathing, and then as I know, like I'm doing every 2 strokes, as I know, like I'm breathing out, it's time for me to breathe again. So I'm like, you know, and so it's just not as calming as it's supposed to be. And that's something that I've noticed when I'm swimming at the pool. Like I'm over here like dying after 100 yards, and people are there swimming, like kids that are there for water polo or, you know, whatever, like they're doing 200 yards out the gate and they're fine, and I'm over here gassed. And so it's definitely with my breathing. And so this is cool to see it explained this way, and I know it's something that I need to work on. But yeah,
You are maybe overthinking it a little bit.
definitely.
That can be a little bit counterproductive with swimming, right? So I know we've touched on the kick, the breathing, and the lead arm up. As I mentioned at the start, my recommendation for the month is going to be focus on one area per session. So whether you're going to do kick on session 1, you'll do breathing on session 2, lead them up on session 3, make that your only focus. And then what I also want you to do with every session, just to try and find more of that relaxation flow state, is, Anthony, I want you to try and incorporate about 200 meters of fingertip drag into your swims. You can do it with fins. The goal there is going to be on relaxation. Really just lengthen out the stroke, find a nice rhythm, slow it down. That's going to be the only goal. And then a really nice drill that you can also do at the start of each session is sink downs. That's just a really nice way, again, to just find that relaxation state. Okay, but other than that, it's looking really good. And I think you're definitely on track towards your 70.3. How you're training sounds really great. So let's just have the kick a little bit lighter, looser, less intense. Breathing, we just want to pause for a second or two before we exhale. Keep that lead arm up. How you can do that is just relax the hand a little bit more, so avoid putting pressure on it. And because you are just overthinking it a little bit and you're just kind of swimming continuously, and we want to find that relaxation state, incorporate 200 meters of fingertip drag per session and sink down drills. Okay, but Anthony, if anything's unclear or you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section.
And that's pretty much it. Like, these are things that I kind of had an idea that I needed to work on. Like, when I'm doing my drills, I am incorporating fingertip dragging drills, but maybe I'm not doing it with the intention that it's to lengthen, right? Like, when I'm doing my fingertip drag drills, I'm thinking about keeping my high elbow up instead of, it's a lengthening like exercise. And so it's just small things like this is why, I'm subscribed to Effortless Swimming, and I've learned a ton off their YouTube channel. They didn't pay me. I paid my own money to be part of this group. But, I watch a ton of their videos, and to be able to get this feedback is invaluable, especially, when they're in Australia and I'm over here in California. Just like these little tips and tricks and insight as to the intention behind each part of the stroke or each drill is what I think is going to help me a ton. And so I definitely wanted to review this footage. I don't know how much of it gets included in the video. If that's something that you guys want to see, I might have included the entire video, but this is definitely something I want to include, on my channel to see my progression, because I've only been swimming for 6 months, right? And so that's where I kind of think this channel is unique, but also not unique, because I'm not like a avid swimmer. I don't have a swimming background. I don't have a running background. I'm just the average 31-year-old who fell in love with triathlon training, and we're knee deep in it, and we're just trying to figure out. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I don't have top of the line coaches to be able to like help me out, but we use our resources how we can, and we're going to get there. And that's kind of my approach to this channel. And so, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm the best or whatever it is. I'm just literally trying to figure this out in real time and just bringing you guys along the journey with me. And so, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And it's 1:36 a.m. I wanted to watch this before my next swim session so that I can go to the pool with a plan. And so I'm going to get some sleep. We have the pool session at 8 o'clock in the morning in 6.5 hours here. So I will see you guys bright and early at the pool. Kind of tired today. Gonna focus on just drills. The guy next to me is a beast.